What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Shield Splitter Podcast. So I want to get right into it because I wasn't expecting to make another episode this soon. The holiday season was super busy, and I wasn't expecting to have the little bit of time that I do to actually record. So let's get right into it. I want to discuss Dragon Ball Z Super. It's coming down to the wire with all of the characters about to go head to head. And from what I recall, you have Jiren, Toppo, and Dispo, all from Universe 11, who are about to go up against Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Android 17. It's going to be an ultimate showdown. I can't wait to see what happens. It looks like Vegeta is going to go up against... Oh, actually, I forgot about Frieza. So I must be forgetting one more person from Universe 11, but that's all that I can remember. I didn't want to dive too deep into it because I'm just enjoying the episodes as they come, so I'm not really dissecting it like other people would. If that's something that you want to hear, you probably want to check out something else, but I'm just a fan. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what direction they're going to go in. But I forgot Frieza, so it seems like it's going to be Vegeta versus Jiren, Frieza versus Dispo, I believe, and then Toppo and Android 11, Android 17 and Gohan maybe teaming up. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to play out, but I would love to see a Jiren versus Vegeta fight. That definitely sounds interesting to me. And aside from that, I also want to discuss Dragon Ball Z FighterZ and how it is that Hitman Hit is super overpowered. Just OP. How he changes the meta. Just how he fixes a lot of stuff. Now, when I say overpowered, I'm just being a bit sarcastic. Just kind of playing around a little bit. Really, I think he brings a much needed balance to the game. And I'll explain all of that later, but that is a topic that I did want to get into. And basically, I had a bunch of concerns about some of the characters being a little too similar, and then that they might get a little polarizing. Then when the meta forms, there's going to be an obvious best version of this type of character. And then, like the assists and stuff kind of coming in the background. Like, mind you, I know all that stuff's going to be super important as the game gets older when it officially comes out. But I kind of want the basis to be a little bit more unique. And, I feel as though certain characters help with that. And then Hitman is one of those. And then just how the small differences might not matter in the long run. But I definitely think that he introduces a much needed mechanic that was kind of missing. But this is just assuming because we don't have enough information about the game to make conclusions, because there are other characters who I feel kind of change things up. But I think Hitman Hit was really important, and that's another thing that I want to discuss in detail. Alright, and last but certainly not least, I wanted to discuss a possibility of a ratio system in Dragon Ball FighterZ. I always want to say Dragon Ball Z FighterZ, but it's just Dragon Ball FighterZ with a Z. Strategies behind why it is that I think that would be a great thing, or a great addition to the game. Just strategies and techniques. How it would be true to Dragon Ball tradition, and of course with a ratio system. And I would probably have to break that down and explain it a little bit, because that's a system that's kind of classic. It was introduced in a really old... I can't say if it began there, but it was in Capcom vs. SNK. I believe the first version of the game, and then maybe even in the second, but it was sort of like a mode. But basically, it's just a system that consists of dumping all of your power into one character, rather than splitting your power up into smaller characters. So you would have characters that would be anything from rank 1 to rank 2 and then rank 3. Whereas if you have a rank 3 character, it would use up all 3 of your character slots, so you would only have that one character to choose. And then if your character was rank 2, you can pick one rank 2 character and then one rank 1 character, or then you can just select 3 rank 1 characters. It was a little strange, but I'll get into all of that a little bit later. But we'll discuss all of that and more after this short break. We'll be right back.
Listen up, please!
Hey, listen!
Listen up, please!
And we're back with the Shield Splitter podcast. Let's get started right away. So Hitman Hit. Why is he a great addition to Dragon Ball Z Fighters, or Dragon Ball Fighters with a Z? Okay, so one of the things is about games like anything that resembles the Capcom versus Marvel universe where everything is about combos. There's always going to be those characters that are just better at doing it than everybody else, or that one team that's better than doing it than anybody else. We all know that's going to happen. The game might get balanced or tweaked, but you can't make it perfectly balanced. It's just way too many ingredients going on. So the thing about Hit is that he seems to slow the pace down. So no matter how good somebody gets at the combo system to where they can basically do a hit confirm into death, Smash Brothers, they used to call it 0 to death. Basically, Hit, if you're good with him, it stops everything. It's sort of like you have to either stagger your hits or you have to use characters that aren't conventional or whose combo strings are really interesting, or the timing is somewhat off. Because this guy can counter anything. He can counter projectiles, he can counter physical attacks, teleportation attacks, and it looks like the tracking on his counters are like dead on. And then you would think that maybe you can just do a stare down with him or kind of play the neutral game, but it's sort of like he kills all of that too with his time freeze techniques and things like that. So he seems like a really great addition to kind of shaking things up a bit, and I think Beerus and maybe Captain Ginyu might add to that, but I think he's really a great addition, and it might kind of force people to play a little different. So if a character is not necessarily the best in a certain area, it might be because their combos stagger in that last little bit of way that a person who's really good with Hit, it might mess them up, or the timing might you see what I'm saying? It sort of changes the pace, so it's not just a combo frenzy. And I like that. When anything that forces you to play the game a little different is always an interesting element to me. And that's something that I always kind of want to see in these games that can get really chaotic. Because, of course, there's always going to be that super team. And I think Hit basically takes a dump on that. And I'm enjoying that. So with this ratio system, I want to cover this really quickly. So one of the things that got me thinking about this is I was talking to my friend basically about why it is that I was going to get Dragon Ball FighterZ without even really thinking about it. Basically it being the definitive Dragon Ball Z game compared to all the ones that were terrible. And I was basically saying, since Arc System Works was doing it, even their worst job would be better than anything that we have now. So I was definitely buying it on day one. The one thing that came up as we were discussing these types of games was the ratio system. And he was saying how it's kind of weird how Frieza's on a team and then you have like Goku on a team, when a lot of times the fights come down to like two of the more powerful people. And then of course we went into detail about usually the guys who are assisting, he's just the enemies out of their league and they're just buying time. And then I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, one of the things about Dragon Ball FighterZ is I noticed how no matter how good you get at the strings, and of course this might change as the game gets a little older, but even the more powerful characters like Frieza who have really great strings, it seems like there's always that last little bit of damage that you can't get off because you know the diminishing returns, the more and more you hit, the less effective it becomes. Well, you know, which is a good system, but it seems as though you can't really wipe a character. Now, mind you, I don't mind that because you want to keep it competitive, but I did think, is there a possibility of where you could wipe without it coming down to the wire and using like sparking blasts and stuff like that? And I was thinking that the ratio system would be interesting because you could have a character like Frieza who does heavy damage, and then if you're really good at it, you can sacrifice having all the assists and stuff for a really good string that can possibly character wipe. And then you might have it where there's strategies to burn your meter and burn your sparking blast early to get rid of characters if that's something that you're good at. So that was a strategy that came to mind that isn't available in the current game. And then I was thinking how interested it would be to see a difference between people picking single characters and then them picking teams. So that's just something that came to mind about different strategies and techniques that could be introduced to the game that we haven't seen yet. But anyway, that's all from me. This has been the Shield Splitter Podcast. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you next time. Later.